This is our house now, isn't it? My sister-in-law shouted, her face turning red. Are you sure you want the house?
Yeah, it's ours now. Right, Mom?
Yeah? It should belong to us, of course. What's with the nonsense, Amy? Well then, I hope you can afford it.
Afford what?
I mean, the entire mortgage. Make sure to pay that off, okay? With a smile, I threw those words at my in-laws. The three of them looked stunned and speechless in front of me. I can already see what's gonna come to them next. A great downfall. My name is Amy, a 36-year-old editor. It has been 5 years since I married Curtis. Curtis and I were classmates in college, but we didn't date back then. However, we started meeting again after reuniting at a friend's wedding. Up until then, he was just a friendly male friend to me. But when we met again, Curtis had become a cool and experienced working professional. He was gentle and thoughtful, and looked way more mature than other guys around me. I was rapidly drawn to him. He also seemed to grow interest in me, and it didn't take long until we officially started dating. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and a few years later, we decided to get married. When we announced our marriage, everyone around us was surprised, and they never expected me to be dating Curtis. Life after marriage was incredibly enjoyable and blissful. We had many shared hobbies, especially outdoor activities that we enjoyed together. However, just recently, after 3 years of marriage, a certain problem arose.
What?
Dad had an accident? We received a call informing us that my father-in-law had been involved in an accident and was rushed to the hospital. My husband and I immediately rushed to the hospital.
Dad, are you okay? Sorry for worrying you. Or hurt my leg badly. And it has reached a point where I need caregiving.
My father-in-law was about to retire, but ended up in such a situation. We felt so sorry for him. And here came the main issue. My mother-in-law begged us to live with them in their family home and take care of my father-in-law.
Curtis, please.
It's difficult for me to take care of your father and manage the household all by myself.
Mom.
It wasn't a decision that could be made easily. My husband said to discuss it with me and put it on hold. So, when we returned home, we had multiple discussions. Both my husband and I loved my father-in-law dearly. He was the kind of person who makes us feel incredibly happy just by being around him. I thought my husband resembled his father. On the other hand, my mother-in-law had some peculiarities. She could be extremely kind to people she liked, but quite cold towards others. That's why I worried that I might have some unpleasant experiences with my mother-in-law. My husband had some concerns about that as well.
Mom had some strong discriminatory tendencies. But it's true that she can't take care of Dad and manage the house all by herself. After much deliberation, we decided to move to my in-laws' house.
Really? Thank you. It's a great relief.
I'm really sorry for burdening you, son.
No, Dad.
I want both you and Mom to be comfortable.
Both of my in-laws seemed genuinely happy about it. Shortly after, we moved into my in-laws' house. However, as expected, a problem arose. It was an astonishing behavior from my mother-in-law. Not only did she ask us to take care of her husband, but she also burdened us with all the household chores. She would go out for tea with her friends or attend our hobbies while leaving everything to us. Honestly, I was exasperated by my mother-in-law's actions, but I couldn't let my father-in-law suffer. My husband and I worked together, taking care of my father-in-law's needs and managing the household. and we even renovated the house to make it more comfortable for my father-in-law. The house feels like brand new. It's so comfortable. My mother-in-law was extremely proud, even though she hadn't contributed much. Since my father-in-law usually relied on a wheelchair,
I can move around so easily now. I'm truly grateful.
just seeing my father-in-law's smile made my husband and me feel that the renovation was worth it. After that, we continued with our daily routines. Then, one day, my father-in-law said something to us.
Thank you both so much for everything. Isn't Amy's birthday coming up soon? As a thank you, I ordered something nice online. Hope you like it.
Huh? Really? You didn't need to. But thank you. With a smile, my father-in-law said that, and I was excited and looking forward to it. A few days later, a package arrived addressed to me. To my surprise, it was a high-end handbag.
You are always there for me. And also take care of all the household matters, Amy. And on top of that, the renovation. I can't thank you enough. So, please accept my appreciation. No need to hesitate.
Thank you so much. I'll take good care of it for sure.
Hey, Dad. If you give such nice things, I'll become relevant.
My husband said that while scratching his head and laughing. My father-in-law and I laughed at him in that way. But this gift changed the situation even worse with my mother-in-law.
Amy, aren't you seducing my husband, are you?
My mother-in-law suddenly made such remarks. Huh? What are you talking about? That's crazy.
So you say. You have a cunning side to you. Aren't you deceiving Curtis and trying to manipulate my husband to destroy this family?
What? What on earth are you talking about?
I'm saying that you're after the assets of this house or my husband's inheritance.
Why? Why would you say something so terrible? That's disrespectful to your husband too. Please, stop it. You are annoying.
If you get too carried away, I'll kick you out.
My mother-in-law's anger was unreasonable. She must have been jealous seeing me being treated well. But I didn't want to be lectured by someone who doesn't do anything around the house and relies on my father-in-law's retirement savings and pension to live. When I told my husband about my conversation with her, he was exasperated.
Jesus. If she says something again, let me know right away, okay?
Okay, thank you, honey. I was grateful that my husband supported me. However, from that point on, my mother-in-law started bullying me even harder.
You know, I lose my appetite when the food is this bad. Amy, you should improve your cooking skills more.
My mother-in-law continued to insult me in such a way.
Hey, Mom, cut it out. Her cooking is perfectly fine. That's right. I like Amy's cooking. Your cooking was always too salty, you know.
What? You were all so terrible, blaming me like this. I guess no one's on my side. How terrible. My mother-in-law started crying while pretending to be hurt. But we continued our meal without paying much attention to her. Having my husband and father-in-law on my side was a great source of strength for me. So I didn't let myself to be intimidated by her. Thanks to that, she gradually became more subdued. For a while, our life together was peaceful. However, after about a year had passed, my father-in-law suddenly fell ill and was put to the hospital. My husband and I were worried, visiting him every day. Unfortunately, my father-in-law's condition worsened day by day. My mother-in-law didn't bother coming to visit, claiming it was too troublesome. And then she made a surprising statement.
From today, I'll be living with Evan.
Evan is my husband's older brother. He's married and lives with his spouse. According to my husband, my mother-in-law dotes on him. Evan has graduated from top-tier university, and that's why she treats him better than my husband. When I told them about the mistreatment I've received here, they told me to live with them. So, I'm saying goodbye to you all. My mother-in-law packed her belongings with a triumphant expression. But for us, it was more like, please feel free to leave. With my mother-in-law gone, my husband and I found life easier. From the beginning, she didn't do any housework or care for my father-in-law, and the burden was reserved when she was gone. Plus, my mother-in-law used to do a lot of unnecessary shopping and going out a lot, so even her expenses have decreased. And the most important thing is that the atmosphere in the house has become more cheerful. Not only because there was no harassing towards me, but even without that, most of the words out of her mouth were negative. So when that stopped, I felt as if the atmosphere became lighter all at once. My husband and father-in-law seemed to feel the change as well. And so, we spent peaceful days together as a family for a while. Looking back now, I think those few months were the happiest time for our family. However, my father-in-law's health deteriorated day by day, and he became weaker. My husband contacted my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law's family, but they never came to visit even once. My father-in-law always treated his sons equally. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law didn't like it, and their relationship fell into something unpleasant. My brother-in-law's wife, too, had a prideful and arrogant nature. In that regard, she resembled my mother-in-law. A few months passed, and my father-in-law passed away. I was glad to be present during his final moments and exchange words with him. Many people attended to the funeral, which showed the high regard people had for my father-in-law. I felt proud to have such a great person as my father-in-law. My mother-in-law and my brother-in-law's family also attended the funeral, but all three of them seemed bored and didn't help with the arrangement or preparations at all. And as soon as the funeral was over, they immediately left. They were unbelievable. However, about 2 months later, they surprised us again by suddenly showing up at our house. "Why are you here?" all of a sudden. They're staring at us with menacing looks. "When are you going to leave this house?" My mother-in-law said that. "Huh? What do you mean?" My husband asked, confused. Then, my brother-in-law sighed. I've always thought you were an idiot, but I didn't realize you were this incapable of understanding things." And my sister-in-law chimed in. "That's right. This house belongs to us. Hurry up and leave. We're the ones who should be living here." At that moment, we understood. They had a major misunderstanding. Is that so? Then please make sure to pay off the entire mortgage for this house, you know? What? Mortgage? My in-laws looked surprised at my statement. Did you forget that we fully renovated this house? Did you think it was all free or something? Well, did my husband finish paying for that cost? Mom, you really know nothing. Amy has been covering most of these expenses. What? That's why when we took out the loan, we put the house in Amy's name. Oh, wait a minute. The house is in Amy's name? Yeah. Dad also agreed that it was a good decision. So this house will never end up in your hands. Got it? Wait, what is this? We agreed to live with you because you said we could live in this spacious house for free. That was, Evan, you do something about this. Huh? What are you talking about? If I can't have this house, then I won't live with you either. Evan, how dare you speak to your mother that way? They completely turned against each other, hurling insults back and forth. Could you take your fight somewhere else?
Or do you want to stay here and wait for the police to be called?"
Once the word police was mentioned, they immediately panicked and hastily left. Afterwards, it seems that my mother-in-law was kicked out of my brother-in-law's house. She came to us seeking help, but of course, we turned her away. By the way, my brother-in-law Evan, despite his educational background, couldn't succeed in his career due to his unpleasant personality. As a result, his salary didn't increase, and their life was never easy. My sister-in-law got tired of him and had an affair. They were currently going through a messy divorce. As for my mother-in-law, she's living alone in a rundown apartment. We received multiple calls from her, but we expect another surprise visit, so my husband and I sold our house and moved. Thanks to the renovations, we were able to sell the house for a higher price than expected. Currently, we happily live in a luxury condo, enjoying our days together as a couple. I still think of my father-in-law often. His character has been passed down to my husband, and it truly is a blessing. The bag I received from my father-in-law is a treasure for me throughout my life. I learned that if we live sincerely, fate will turn around, and someone will help us somewhere, someday. That's how I believe. For now, I won't extend a helping hand to my mother-in-law. However, as time passes, and if her sincerity can be felt, I definitely want to repair the relationship. In the corner of my mind, I wait for her to become that person. Regardless, I want to continue living happily with my husband, overcoming various challenges that may come our way.
I inherited $1 million, but my husband and mother-in-law demand I transfer the money. However, when I revealed the truth, they were shocked.
When my ex-mother-in-law restrained my hand, my enraged ex-husband grabbed my neck with both hands and began to strangle me. In the midst of my hazy consciousness, I realized that it was the right decision to come alone. This is the kind of ex-family that would do such a thing. If Monica had come with me, she wouldn't have been safe either. Really, it was the right decision to come alone. Just when I thought it was hopeless, the front door swung open forcefully. Everyone in the neighborhood, the eldest son of this household, is now pinning down a defenseless woman. He is choking her, and the mother is tightly gripping the vulnerable woman. She's helping her stupid son with his domestic violence. I'm Kate. It has been 1 year since I married my husband, Stuart. The reason we met was because we both registered with the same marriage consultation agency, and the staff introduced us to each other. To tell the truth, I was quite desperate to get married. I had a considerable fear of the approaching wall of 40. My college friend got married at a young age at 27, and a few years later, my last remaining single friend also got married at 31. I am an only child, so I don't have any siblings, and my extended family connections are also weak. Even my parents, if everything goes according to plan, will depart before me. I was so scared of loneliness, incredibly scared, until I met my husband. I participated in many free events for singles. However, it seems that I have a poor eye for men, as my closest friend Monica, who got married first among our group at the age of 27, constantly rejected the men I chose. As soon as we met, meeting once a week, we promptly started our matchmaking party debriefings. So, what kind of person is this time? He said he works as a clinical psychologist. I don't really care about his occupation. What did you talk about? Well, he was a very serious person. How so? Can you give me an example? He works at a hospital and the patients rely on him more than the doctors. Isn't that amazing? Anything else? He said he genuinely cares about the patients. He's willing to help as many patients as possible, even if it means volunteering and putting salary second. Rejected! Huh? Why? He's full of self-importance, like he's some kind of hero, but he's not. His need for validation is just too strong. Are you sure about that? Kate, people like him tend to have extreme anger outbursts when things don't go their way. It's better to stay away. Trust me. Well, we can still be friends. I don't think he's even worth being friends with. Yeah, you're right. Even though I said that, I continued the relationship with this man, and I was supposed to go to his birthday celebration. The day before, I slipped on the stairs at work and broke my leg. When I contacted him about it, he unleashed a harsh, verbal attack on me.
That's just too much. We had plans for tomorrow, right? Canceling now, isn't that terrible?
I'm sorry, but I can't go anywhere with this leg.
You should be more careful in life. Tomorrow's my birthday, Oh, thanks to you, it's going to be the worst birthday ever.
After that, he abruptly hung up the phone, and communication between us ceased. Aha, Monica was right after all. That's what I thought. I met a man who was a public servant but could only spare $500 per month after paying for his car loan and supporting his parents. Monica rejected him, but I didn't listen. Unexpectedly, his parents got involved and demanded, "If you're dating her, you should give her money too." It was an awakening. And then I met someone at a matchmaking event who was a caregiver. When I told Monica about him, she immediately rejected him. However, as he hinted at marriage, I told Monica that I wanted to marry him, even if she opposed it. Then Monica cried and jeered at me. That guy is completely ignoring your wishes, Kate. He's living with his parents and pressuring you to live with him. If he lives with you, he'll bring his grandmother from the nursing home, right? That means he's fully expecting you to take care of his grandmother. And he thinks it's fine for you to continue working. You'll have to take a 1-hour train ride to go to work? Seriously, wake up already. You can't possibly be happy marrying someone like that. Hey, why don't you try talking to him about fulfilling your wishes? I'm sure he won't budge. Yeah, I'll try saying that I don't want to live together. And when I told him that over the phone, he said he understood. When's your next date? Maybe the day after tomorrow. He's coming here, so we'll meet at the station. She probably already knew. In the end, on the day we had promised to meet, he didn't show up at the meeting place, and I couldn't reach him. Still, I waited for 3 hours, hoping he might show up someday. And in front of me, Monica appeared. You understand now, right? Yeah, sorry. You don't need to apologize. The guy turned out to be a complete jerk. Anyway, since I came here by car, I'll give you a ride home. Let's have something delicious to eat on the way back. I'll get angry if you don't. Thank you. And during our meal, Monica made a suggestion. If you really want to get married, stop going to those free matchmaking events. Go to a proper marriage agency and pay for it. Honestly, I hadn't thought about that, but now that she mentioned it, it's true that for someone like me who lacks judgment, it would be better to know more about the other person's background. It might be a good idea. Yeah, I don't have good judgment after all. Hey, stop being the main character. You always say you lack confidence. Kate, you're cute, very feminine, and classy. Those losers from before were just passing through, so don't dwell on them. Next! If you think this guy is no good, it's okay to say, oh, he wasn't right for me. Don't think anything more about it. Kate, if you're worried, I'll go with you to listen to the explanation at the marriage agency. Really? Thank you. And so our visits to marriage agencies began, but right around that time, Monica's husband was transferred overseas. She moved overseas while worrying about me. I can't rely on others anymore. I have to carve out my own life. With that in mind, I joined a marriage agency, and within 3 months, I met my husband and got married. But it seems my judgment was still lacking. Initially, we had promised not to live with our in-laws, but now we are living together. It started when my father-in-law fell ill, and at first they wanted me to help with his daily needs. But somehow I was persuaded, and we ended up living together. I appealed to my husband multiple times, but he simply brushed it off, saying,
I'm the eldest son,
and didn't make any effort to change the situation. Moreover, I suspect my father-in-law's illness wasn't genuine. As soon as we started living together, his health miraculously improved. And even though I have a job, the household chores at my in-laws' place are assigned to me as if I were a full-time housewife. Furthermore, my mother-in-law doesn't approve of the way I handle things and always nitpicks, making me do things over. This kind of life has been going on for about 4 months. I was exhausted, both physically and mentally. I consulted my parents about this, but they had traditional views and told me to serve my in-laws since I'm their daughter-in-law. The root cause of all this was my lack of judgment, and it was all because I rushed into marriage. I'm well aware of all that, but I had reached my limit. Although it had only been a short time since we got married, thoughts of divorce were already crossing my mind. In this life, there are my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and husband, but I feel lonely. I got married out of fear of loneliness, but being alone might be better than this. In the midst of all this, another unfortunate event struck me. My parents were involved in a car accident and passed away. With their deaths, I truly became an orphan. However, it seemed to embolden my mother-in-law and husband. They must have thought that I had no place to escape anymore. I was subjected to even more demanding labor than before. In truth, I want a divorce. But if I get divorced, I'll truly be all alone. I think this was the most cornered I have ever felt in my life. However, my family didn't attend my parents' funeral. Originally, there were no relatives to attend my parents' funeral except for me, the heir. It was a deeply lonely farewell, but there was one person who attended the funeral, just one person. It was Monica, who immediately boarded a plane after hearing the news. When she saw me, her eyes were red, and without a word she embraced me tightly. At that moment, everything I had been holding back overflowed, and I cried out loudly. She stayed silent and stayed by my side until the end. Monica, thank you so much today. Yeah, I have to go back. What? I'm not letting you go. I already booked a hotel, so come with me. I followed her to the hotel as she told me to. Just so you know, Kate, you're not alone. If anything happens, I'll definitely help you. Speak your mind freely. Those words gave me courage. I want a divorce. I understand. Well, let's plan it out. If you're going to have a discussion, I'll be there too. Thank you, but I probably don't need to have a discussion. Why not? The divorce papers, I brought them with me. But you still need to get them signed by the other party, right? I already have his signature on his documents. Huh? So far, every time something happened to me, they threatened me with a divorce. I was afraid of being alone, so I couldn't take any concrete action, but they used that as an opportunity to repeatedly show me the pre-filled divorce papers. When I reached my limit and decided to confront them for not attending my parents' funeral, I brought out those divorce papers. You did it! All right. Let's submit it right away. Do you have everything prepared? Of course. All right, let's go together. Monica's offer was truly appreciated, but this was something I needed to handle on my own. When I told her that, she said, I understand. I'll wait here, and stayed behind. I submitted the divorce papers at the city office and headed straight to the place where those three were. When I arrived, they were gathered in the living room. Without saying a word to them, I went upstairs, grabbed my bag, and descended the stairs once again. I tried to leave, but my ex-husband stopped me.
Hey, you came back and didn't even say hello.
Well, you never greet me either, do you?
Forget about that. Transfer all the money to my account, right now.
What are you talking about?
It's obviously your parents' inheritance. It's
$1 million, right?
You're well informed.
You talked to your parents about it before, didn't you?
You have interesting hobbies. Eavesdropping, I mean.
Just transfer the full amount to my account right now.
Why? I mean, it's obvious that the money for your wedding comes from our family, right? Don't you understand that? You don't have any family other than us now that your parents are gone. From now on, you need to be obedient. That way, your livelihood will be guaranteed. While we're at it, you should quit your job too. I won't tolerate any backtalk from you as a daughter-in-law. I was out of my mind. I couldn't make rational judgments. I wanted to get married because I was scared of being alone, but rushing into it was never a good idea, right?
What's with you? Going on about yourself.
Well, maybe you're right. I realized it. Even if I live with the four of you, I still feel lonely. So I choose the loneliness of being alone. Or rather, I have chosen it.
Huh?
You all have repeatedly presented me with divorce papers as a way to threaten me. Therefore, I am not your wife. I am single.
Huh?
You! What have you done? Didn't you both always say it? If you don't like the way I am, we can get a divorce. So I brought the divorce papers. I don't like anything you do. Of course, the right to inherit the estate belongs to me alone. Since I am no longer your daughter-in-law, I have no obligation whatsoever to give it to you. Well, I've taken care of you enough. Goodbye. I dashed towards the entrance with all my might. However, just as I was about to escape, my ex-husband tackled me and I fell down. My ex-husband grabbed me by the chest, pinning me down.
You damn piece of shit! Don't get cocky. Cancel the divorce right now.
No, I won't. I absolutely won't. I'm scared. I don't know what he'll do to me anymore. My ex-husband's grip on my chest was incredibly strong. I desperately tried to shake him off, but his mother held down my hand. This child won't understand until she experiences pain. For someone so incompetent, they need the whip of love, don't they? While his mother held my hand, my enraged ex-husband grabbed my throat with both hands and began to strangle me. As my consciousness began to fade, I thought that it was the right decision to come alone. This was the kind of family that would do such things. If Monica had come with me, she would have been safe too, right? Seriously, it was the right decision to come alone. Just when I thought it was over, the front door swung open forcefully. Everyone in the neighborhood, the eldest son of this household, is now pinning down a defenseless woman. He is choking her, and the mother is complicit in her foolish son's domestic violence, starting with mistreating the vulnerable women. I was startled the moment Monica's loud voice resounded. My ex-husband released his grip on my neck. Coughing, I looked at Monica and noticed that she had a megaphone, seemingly acquired from somewhere, and she held it to her mouth, raising her voice loudly. And in her other hand, she held a smartphone. Monica's voice reached the neighboring houses, and one by one the residents peeked out from their homes. My ex-husband remained stunned, still pinning me. Then Monica swiftly approached my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law wearing shoes indoors. With lightning speed, she kicked my ex-husband's face forcefully, sending him flying. How long are you going to keep up with this act? You damn domestic violence scumbag! Hey, you old hag, you're just as guilty too! Monica delivered a powerful blow to my ex-mother-in-law. Hey, you statue over there. What the hell are you doing? Your stupid wife and your stupid son are doing a hell of a job. I'll put an end to it, you pathetic old fool. I'll make sure you pay proper compensation.
We'll take you down. This is violence.
Oh, really? Fine, let's battle it out in court then. Regardless of how the justice system decides, I haven't done anything wrong. I'll decide for myself what's right or wrong. It's all up to me, you imbecile. I have solid evidence of your violence on my smartphone. So let's see how the justice system judges. Oh, but before that, if Katie files a complaint, it'll be a slam dunk. That would be delightful. What will you do, Kate? Fine. I'll pay the compensation properly. Is that good enough for you? I'll even agree to the divorce. So please, don't file a complaint. Then it's $60,000. You have nothing to do with this. Just stay quiet. Kate's marriage period is 1 year. Monthly $5,000 for enduring it. So that's $60,000. Hold on. Are you even listening to me? Huh? Who's not listening? You mean yourself? You're not even human. It's ridiculous. Those who harm those in weaker positions than themselves shouldn't call themselves human. Well then, let's submit the complaint and the videos from this smartphone to the police.
Fine, I get it. I'll pay, so please stop. I'll make the payment properly.
Give me the cash right now.
I can't come up with that much money immediately.
The dress is in the old man's safe, isn't it? Are you still trying to escape at this point? Everyone in the neighborhood, this domestic violence scumbag.
All right, I'll get it.
Reluctantly, my ex-husband handed over the cash to me. And then, Monica and I left the house. I'm sorry, I was told to wait, but I couldn't wait. Don't apologize. If you, Monica, hadn't come, I would have been confined in that house. Are you going to file a complaint? No, I got the $60,000. Let's settle it like this. I see. Well, it worked out well with the bluff, didn't it? Huh? Actually, I couldn't record the video. When we arrived at the house, I heard a loud noise. I was too preoccupied with that. Oh, really? Hey, where did you get that megaphone? It's from the dollar store. I thought I'd shout with it. Thank you. Really? Hey, how about you take some time off and come over here? Should I come and visit? Let's go out and have some fun like old times. And so I took 2 weeks of paid leave, completed the necessary procedures for my parents' affairs, and headed to Monica's new place. By that time, there was a huge commotion at the ex-in-law's house. The neighbors reported the incident, and 7 police officers rushed to the scene. It turned into quite a stir. And there was also the boss of my ex-husband, whose house was next to the ex-in-laws. Naturally, the boss also heard about the domestic violence incident and the divorce. I heard that my ex-husband was transferred at work to a rural area. Unable to withstand the cold and indifferent atmosphere of the neighbors, my ex-in-laws became reclusive, rarely leaving their house. When my ex-husband called and said he wanted to start over, he rambled on about things I didn't even ask, without me saying a word. I hung up the phone without saying anything, even though there was an atmosphere of, "Oh, poor me," coming from him. It's been 5 years since then, and I don't know what happened to my ex-family. Although I went through a scary experience, my current environment is very fulfilling. It's because I have already remarried. During those 2 weeks of paid leave, I was introduced to a man by Monica, and we got married 3 years ago. Currently, we are living overseas, and now 3 months have passed since I became pregnant, albeit a little late. I'm incredibly happy that I finally met a wonderful man. Monica's husband's overseas assignment has ended, and they are now living in America, but we stay in frequent contact. It seems that I didn't have a good eye for men, but I certainly had a good eye for friends. From now on, I plan to cherish my family and friends and continue walking through life. It's wonderful that you were able to meet your beloved person. If the ending is good, does that mean everything is good? Well, who knows? From now on, may you spend your days in happiness. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. See you in the next video.
My mother-in-law demands I send her $10,000, even though I told her I'm in the middle of my husband's funeral. She then cried,
Hey, when are you going to transfer the money?
Send me $10,000 right now. That's what my mother-in-law said on the phone. I'm in the middle of my husband's funeral.
That's none of my business.
She told me to transfer the money immediately. I ignored her and hung up the phone, and she came directly to me. But she was surprised.
What the hell is this?
My name is Stephanie. I am a 34-year-old office worker. I'm currently dating someone. His name is Alfred, and he is the same age as me. I met him through work. He works for a client of the company I worked for, and we often do business with each other. Basically, we had a serious business conversation. We were both serious about our work. But then he would unexpectedly throw in some of his jokes. It was funny, and we would laugh with each other. Of course, we were doing our jobs properly, but one of us makes a joke at the right moment, and the atmosphere instantly relaxes, and the deal proceeds in a rather good state. It was a drinking party that brought us close together. There was a time when the companies where my husband and I both work had a large-scale project. Of course, my husband and I participated in the project, as did many other employees. We all worked together to make the project a success, and a big party was held as part of the action. We exchanged personal contact information, and we started to keep in touch with each other, going out for drinks, going out on dates, and so on. We have been dating for about 2 years now, and we are still in love and have fun every day. We're both independent because we both focus on our jobs, and I think we have a good chemistry. Then one day, he proposed to me.
I can't imagine my future with anyone but you. You're such a part of my life now. Will you marry me?
Yes, I'd love to. And so we are married. I'm so happy that I was going to marry the man I love. After that, we went to meet each other's parents, and he looked a little unhappy. What's wrong? Did something happen?
No. Actually, there's something I wanted to tell you. I've explained to you before that my parents are divorced, right? I've actually been sending money to my mom every month since I started working for the company.
I see.
Oh, yeah, about 1,000 a month.
What? That much?
Yeah. But of course I'm not going to bother you after we're married. Since we're going to live together as a couple, I thought I should let you know in advance.
I see. He only briefly explained that his parents are divorced due to his mother's infidelity. His father took him in. Even so, he still saw his mother sometimes and kept in touch with her after he entered the workforce. His mother has asked him to send money to her because she is now single and has a hard time making ends meet. Even though his mother betrayed them, he stayed with her until he was in the 3rd grade of junior high school, and his mother used to cook and feed him every day, raising him with love and care.
When I was playing softball, she always came to watch her team practice. She prepared orange juice for everyone and drove us to the games. My dad was too busy with work to spend time on those things, so I owe a lot to my mom.
People might say that his bad situation where he is being robbed, but still he was treated well by his mother in the past. He feels he owes his mother a debt of gratitude and wants to repay it. That's why he keeps sending money to her. Thank you for telling me in advance. I'll do what I can to help.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I was surprised by his story, but I still wanted to respect his wishes as much as I could. Fortunately, I also make a good amount of money. He says he won't bother me, but if it comes to it, I'm willing to pay for it. Then I went with him to his mother's house to tell her of our marriage.
Alfred, it's been a long time. Hi, Mom. So, that's your fiancé.
Nice to meet you. I'm Stephanie. Alfred's being very good to me. His mother was very nice.
Alfred is finally getting married. I was worried because he never talked about it. Stephanie, thank you for marrying my son. Mom, don't make it sound like you were taking pity on me. Oh, because when I was your age, you were already in the 9th grade. That's a pretty late marriage for me.
His mother had Alfred when she was 19, according to the story. She's 53 now, so she looks very young. Well, she seemed to spend a lot of money on beauty, so she looks young. But after I met his mother, I went to see his father. His father was a very serious and sincere man, and I thought that Alfred was like his father. After meeting with each other's parents, we started making preparations for the wedding. However, when I sent the wedding invitation to his mother, it came back circled as absent.
Why aren't you gonna be there, Mom?
He asked immediately on the phone. Because that man is coming too, right? I can't go. By that man, I mean his father. Well, they're divorced because of her infidelity. So it's natural that he is difficult to meet. I thought it was a little suspicious because she refused to attend the meeting for both of our families. In the end, no matter how much he tried to convince her, his mother didn't want to come to the wedding. Then he and I got married. It was a very happy and joyful wedding with many people celebrating. His mother did not come to the wedding in the end, but we received a congratulatory message. Then Alfred and I started living together. We worked together and shared the housework, and I think we have a good balance in our lives. He was raised by his father since high school, so he himself was often in charge of cooking. So he can cook well and has a lot of dishes he can make. His cooking is very good, and I think he can cook some dishes better than me. And we had a good time on holidays, going on a trip or drive. My husband continued to send money to my mother-in-law even after our marriage. Basically, the monthly remittance was about $1,000. But apparently, my mother-in-law had recently injured her back and became unable to work. Therefore, my husband received a call from her asking him to increase the amount of money he sends home. He was worried about my mother-in-law, so he decided to increase the remittance. Therefore, he increased it from $1,000 to $1,500 a month. My husband works for a large company, and he has a high income. However, it must be quite difficult for him to send $1,500 a month to his mother. I decided to pay more for our living expenses. I worked hard, and my income was high, so it was no problem for me. But my mother-in-law got carried away and asked him to send more money.
It's a very hard life. I'm not working right now.
You know that, right? I have to go to the hospital too.
Maybe so, but I can't afford to send more money either.
Are you saying you're abandoning your mother?
No, that's not what I'm...
Then send more money to me for my sake. My mother-in-law begged my husband repeatedly, and he ended up increasing her allowance to $2,000. It was okay to send her money up until then, but now I think she's asking too much. Well, he still owes his mother for raising him, and she said she had no one else to rely on. So my husband couldn't give up on my mother-in-law, although he was worried about it. So my husband worked hard at his job and got a promotion as a result. This has helped to raise her salary, and for the time being, life has not been so difficult. However, I thought that we would be able to afford it if we could reduce the amount of money we send home. So my husband and I went to my mother-in-law's house to ask her to reduce her allowance.
Oh, Alfred and Stephanie, what's up?
My mother-in-law greeted us with a smile. But when we went to talk to her about reducing her allowance, she immediately became grumpy.
What? Why?
Well, it turns out that $2,000 is a little too much, so...
You don't care what happens to your mother?
I knew you would take his side.
I'm not taking his side or anything, you know.
Then why don't you help me? We have our own life. We might have a baby. We want to save as much as money we can for when that happens.
Instead of something that you're unsure of, shouldn't you be helping people in need now instead? I'm in financial trouble.
That's how my mother-in-law insisted. You said you have back pain. I think you can do at least some desk job.
I already told you I can't work. So help me.
That's how angry my mother-in-law is. My husband and I were both exhausted by the situation. Is there any way out of this? I decided to go to the bathroom for a change. It was then that I noticed that the door to the room next to the bathroom was slightly ajar. I glanced in, and there was something that surprised me. What is that? I glanced toward it. At least she didn't notice. I quietly went into the room and took pictures of what was inside. Then, I went to the bathroom and came back to the living room, pretending that nothing happened. In the end, our attempt to reduce her allowance failed because my mother-in-law did not approve of it. After we returned home, I showed the picture to my husband.
Could this be my mom's room?
Actually, it was just open when I went to the bathroom, and I took photos of some things from there. Would you look at this one and this one?
What?
Aren't these all brand name stuff? That's right. And they're all new releases.
So you're saying my mom buys a lot of brand name stuff?
I guess so. My husband was red-faced and angry.
I was sending money to mom because she was having a hard time making ends meet. I guess that means she's spending all this money I was sending her. Can't forgive her. I won't send money to her anymore.
It's only natural that he would say that. My husband was sending money to my mother-in-law to protect her livelihood, not to allow her to live extravagantly. I agreed with him. Soon after that, he stopped sending money to her. Then, as expected, my husband received 2 phone calls from my mother-in-law.
Hey, I haven't received this month's payment yet. What's going on? Mom, I won't send money anymore. What? What are you doing? I'm saying I can't do it anymore. If you don't like it, stop being extravagant and sell your brand name goods.
My husband said and hung up. Then my mother-in-law came to our house.
Send me money. I only bought them because they happened to be on sale. There were many other brand name items. Anyway, I'm not sending you any more money. So please go home.
My husband kicked her out without question. But after that, my mother-in-law kept coming back to ask for money. So we decided to move out.
I can't trust her anymore.
I didn't think she was that bad. She was so persistent that we hired a detective agency to investigate her. Then we found out a surprising fact. My husband was completely fed up with my mother-in-law. So we moved out of the house so that my mother-in-law would not assault us. Soon after that, my mother-in-law called me. My husband had already blocked her calls, so now she was coming to me. Then my husband and I came up with an idea. A few days later, I finally answered my mother-in-law's phone.
Hey, when are you going to transfer the money? Do you know how many months it's been?
5 months. 5 months. How can you expect us to send you $2,000 a month for 5 months?
Send me $10,000 quickly.
I then told my mother-in-law. I'm in the middle of my husband's funeral.
What? Funeral?
Yes. My husband just recently passed away. Then my mother-in-law said something surprising.
That's none of my business.
What?
Just transfer the money.
Are you really saying that?
Is money more important than your son's funeral? Of course. Money is more important.
Even though you had an affair, he felt indebted to you for raising him, so he sent money to you even after he entered the workforce. He also told me about the time when he played softball. He said that you always drove the car and supported his team at practices and games. When I explained this, my mother-in-law snickered.
He had it all wrong. I wasn't doing it for him. It was because the coach of the softball team at the time was a good-looking guy his age. He didn't know it, but the coach and I were having an affair.
Oh no. I thought my mother-in-law was an arsehole.
I don't care what you do. But can you please transfer the money to me as soon as possible? He was well paid, and I'm sure he has a lot of money in his inheritance. Enough. We're in the middle of the funeral at a place called Madison Funeral Home. I will wire you the money. What? You don't have the authority to decide that. Just transfer the money. I ignored her and hung up. Then my mother-in-law came directly to me. Hey, I'm here because you didn't transfer the money. My mother-in-law came to me with a loud voice, and she was surprised with her eyes wide open. What? What does this mean? So you came. What? Afraid? And my mother-in-law looked around at the people there with a pale face. There were several people there, all of whom had been tricked by my mother-in-law into giving her money. I asked the detective agency to investigate, and they found out about that. Just recently, they had lost contact with my mother-in-law. And so, there was no way to get her to return the money. So my husband and I came up with a plan to call my mother-in-law here. I expected her to come to the funeral, but I didn't expect her to talk like that. As a result, my mother-in-law came, but the damage to my husband must have been immeasurable. However, my husband seemed to be rather relieved. I now understand that I was not important to my mother. So I'm going to stop caring about her too. I want you to give back the money you owe these people, and the money you took from us. That's impossible. Okay? Then we'll have to go to the police. The police?
Yes, because what you're doing is stealing.
Now you're moving in with some young guy and paying for him. That's what we found out. We can talk to that guy if you want. Don't bother Edward.
I feel sorry for you. You can either go to the police or you can give the money back. Just make a choice. My mother-in-law slumped down on the floor, her face pale. She finally gave up and chose to return the money. We all went to my mother-in-law's house to prevent her from running away and retrieved all the brand name goods. We immediately sold them and turned them into money. My mother-in-law first used the money to pay back the people to whom she owed money. But it was still not enough to cover the money that my husband had been sending her, so he contacted a certain person. It was my mother-in-law's brother. Her brother runs the family's auto body shop. We explained the situation to him and asked him to put my mother-in-law to work. He had always been very fond of my husband, and he always did whatever my husband asked. And this time, my mother-in-law had done something terrible. So he said that he is responsible for punishing his sister and forced her to come out and help him with the family business. My mother-in-law tried to escape many times and moved into her young boyfriend's house. When my husband and my mother-in-law's brother went to talk to the guy named Edward, he immediately threw my mother-in-law's belongings out of the house, saying that he didn't want such a troublesome old woman. To me, she was just like a matron who gave me money. My mother-in-law was shocked to hear that from the guy to whom she had paid a lot of money. So my mother-in-law's brother took her out and put her to work to make sure she couldn't run away from home. In exchange of giving my mother-in-law food and shelter, she made sure that all the money she earned went to my husband. Things are going well for now, but my husband and I will continue to keep a close eye on my mother-in-law because she might do something wrong in the future. I will continue to be close to my husband and spend happy days as a married couple.
Unaware that the house was owned by my mom, my MIL tried to force me out by making me divorce my husband. The outcome was quite amusing.
My son deserves someone better than you. Get a divorce right away. I won't have nothing to do with you anymore. Okay, I got it. After that, I sent all of my husband's belongings to my mother-in-law's house. What's happening? How did I get into this mess? I addressed my flustered mother-in-law in icy tone. Well, I guess you got what you deserved. My name is Nora. I'm a 30-year-old administrative assistant. I'm in a relationship with Lucas, whom I met at a party. He's 3 years older than me and is alluring. I was immediately head over heels for him, who was affable and seemed to be serious about his job. We never ceased to carry on our conversations and exchanged our numbers at the end of the night. From then, he started asking me out, and after a few casual dates, we became official. After a year and a half of being together, we were very much in love, and I hoped to marry him someday. Then, on my birthday, he popped the question. I just thought he had made a reservation at a fancy restaurant to celebrate, but it turned out to be a surprise proposal. He gave me a birthday gift, so I was totally oblivious to his true intention, and was thrilled when it happened. Of course my answer was yes, and we were engaged. I was overjoyed that my soulmate proposed to me as a surprise on my birthday. At the time, I had no idea that this marriage would cause me so much trouble. We introduced each other to our families and got married without incident. He moved into my apartment, which belonged to my mom, to start our new life. My grandpa owned a business, and my mom had been studying investment with him since she was young. She continued her dealing after I was born, and she now has considerable assets in real estate and so on. The apartment I was living in was one of the real estate she purchased for investment. Since there was no rent to pay, we considered it a perfect opportunity to save money while starting our newlywed life. And that's why Lucas moved in. It was a 3-bedroom apartment, so there was plenty of space for the two of us. He asked me to be a full-time housewife when we got married. I didn't have any particular attachment to my job, and I had a longing to be a full-time homemaker. I quickly agreed and quit my job. Since then, I worked hard to make a comfortable home as a supportive wife. I cleaned, did laundry, and cooked as best as I could, and my hobby of baking got better and better. As a result, my time at home became more and more fulfilling. Lucas, who had a sweet tooth, was in ecstasy while eating cakes and other treats I made. These are really delicious. Thanks, Han. It goes well with coffee. We were leading a very joyful and loving newlywed life. But then, a disruptive presence appeared to disturb us. It was my mother-in-law, Grace. One day, she suddenly showed up at our apartment. Oh, Grace, what's going on? What? I'm not allowed to come to my son's house without a reason? No, that's not how I meant. It's just that if you plan to come, it'd be great if you could give us a heads up beforehand, so we can get things organized. If I had known she was coming, I'd have kept the cake I baked and served it with coffee. While I was thinking about that, she wandered around the apartment on her own, peering into rooms without asking. What are you doing, Grace? I'm curious to see what the rooms are like. Or what? Is there something you don't want me to see? It's not like that, but... Once she finished, she sat down on the sofa in the living room. Nora, you're so thoughtless. Can't you offer a drink or something? But you're busy looking around the apartment on your own. Are you blaming me for your own lack of consideration? I can't prepare anything with you snooping around, you know. You're talking back to me. Ah, you're so arrogant for a daughter-in-law. Her eyes widened and she got upset with me. It was obviously her fault for showing up without notice, so I couldn't understand why she was mad at me. She stayed for a while and made me prepare lunch. She even demanded dessert after that. I only have the same sweets when you came over last time. Jesus, you're so inconsiderate. Who showed up without any prior notice? I feel sorry for Lucas for having such an incompetent wife. You should be more responsible. It seemed she was eager to bully me. She casually uttered unreasonable things to trouble me, and then got angry with me. I guess she wanted to relieve her stress by blaming me in that way. In fact, after she scolded me, she wore a smug expression as if she had won. She needed to revel in a sense of superiority over me. Her personality was truly disgusting. She was quiet when we first met, but once we got married, she started to show her true color. On that day, I was constantly subjected to sarcastic remarks from her, and it really wore me out. I spoke to Lucas about her when he got home from work. Honey, your mom came out of the blue today, and it was really troublesome. She complained about everything in the house, and she gave me a lecture about my homemaking skills. Yeah, I heard from her. Oh, really? She left before he came back, so I thought she was keeping it a secret from him. She said she did an unannounced survey to see if you were doing the chores properly. Seriously? She was a little disappointed. She said you weren't as good of a homemaker as she expected. But she came right after you left for work. I think it's impossible to have finished cleaning or anything at that time of the day. She said you tend to talk back like that. She was right. You should try to listen to people's opinions more carefully and make an effort to improve. Are you kidding me? He unbelievably took her words to his heart and made a statement siding with her. Hold on. You know that I do my chores properly, don't you? Isn't that just superficial? I don't know how you're spending your time during the day, so I'll have to trust what my mom says. From now on, she'll be coming every week to teach you, so listen to her, okay? You've got me kidding me. Why do you decide such things on your own? That's because you aren't doing your job right. Mom says she's not going to give up on you, and instead, she's going to help you. You should be grateful. I was at a loss for words. Grace's bullying was one thing, but Lucas's attitude was also unbelievable. Why was he controlled by her? I protested desperately, but he wouldn't listen. Then Grace really began to come to our place every week. Lucas gave her the code and a spare key without telling me, and she just opened the gate and the front door as she pleased. Well, let's start with the cleaning first. But before that, bring me coffee and some pastries. She had me prepare drinks and snacks for her relaxation, while she lazed around on the sofa, making me do the chores. Then, at her convenience, she came over and yelled, "It's still dirty. You really suck at cleaning." And when she made me prepare lunch for her, she criticized the food. "What do you think you're doing by serving such a pathetic meal?" She bullied me every week and then left, looking satisfied with herself. She always reported to Lucas that I wasn't improving, and he believed her and blamed me for it. Even if I wanted to keep her out of the apartment, she had a spare key. I once tried to prevent her from entering by locking a bolt. She made a big deal about it, and immediately called Lucas. Since then, She showed up during the morning hours when she was still at home to let her in. You know, Nora can't keep up with my instruction and did a terrible thing. I need to knock some sense into that lazy and rotten spirit of hers. I'm counting on you, Mom. I never thought she'd be such a hopeless daughter-in-law. What on earth did they think I was? I had no idea that Lucas was such a mommy's boy. I was mentally and physically exhausted from being bullied by Grace repeatedly. Then one day, Lucas announced the unthinkable. I'm going on a business trip today, so I asked Mom to stay here for 3 days. Excuse me? I couldn't believe my ears. No way, you can't be serious. Well, I am, he replied with a shrug of his shoulders. Then Grace arrived with a large travel bag. Good morning, Mom. Take good care of Nora from today, will you? Of course I will. As her mother-in-law, I'll make sure you're well trained. She grinned at me. Lucas took his carry-on and went on a business trip. I was in despair. I couldn't believe that I was alone with her for the next 3 days. I knew she was going to use me like a slave. But then something changed inside my brain. I realized that Lucas would continue to take his mom's side. If that was the case, I had no obligation to obey both of them. Nora, get breakfast ready quickly. I didn't have time to eat. Make me pancakes with fruits and vanilla ice cream. I'm in the mood for cafe au lait. Sweeten it up and get it ready. With that, she sat on the sofa and turned on the TV. She smirked at me as I prepared the ingredients. She thought that she was going to use me like a housekeeper from then on, and that she was going to enjoy a leisurely time. I wasn't going to allow that. I prepared what she wanted, put it on the table, and started to eat it myself. She got up from the sofa, and the moment she looked at me, her eyes widened in surprise. Hey, what do you think you're doing? What do you mean, I'm eating my breakfast? Yes, that's mine, isn't it? What are you talking about? Since I used the ingredients in this house to make it, this is my breakfast. Thank you for the idea, though. It's delicious. Don't you dare mock me. You think you're allowed to do this? I'll tell Lucas, so be prepared. Yeah, go ahead. If you want to interfere with him while he's busy working, be my guest. She was reaching for her phone, but my comment seems to dissuade her. She was aware that calling him on a business trip and bothering me would have been a nuisance. You finish eating that and make mine. Why should I do that? I'm a guest. You came here on your own. I didn't invite you. How arrogant can you get? I'm so mad. Divorce my son. He deserves better than you. So get a divorce. I want to have nothing to do with you. Divorce? I see. Have you finally understood your position? If you get divorced, you won't be able to live in this beautiful apartment, you know. You have a good life now thanks to Lucas, and yet you're incredibly audacious. You should reflect on your past arrogance while living in a random apartment or something. She had a triumphant expression on her face. Okay, I got it. I'll divorce him. Really? She was surprised that I obeyed so easily, but she quickly returned to her smug smile. You just agreed, right? You can't take it back later, you know. Yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to change my mind. In fact, you're not going to take it back either, are you? Of course not. Oh, I'm delighted. Now Lucas can find a decent woman. She rejoiced, and I thought that line belonged to me instead. I've got some packing to do, so could you please go home now? I'm not going to follow any more of your orders about housework or anything. When I told her that, she shrugged her shoulders. Well, I guess so. If you leave, I'll have the freedom to come and go in this apartment as I please. Then she left excitedly. I started packing up things in haste. Of course, they weren't my things, but Lucas's belongings. And then I sent all of them to his family home. I also changed the locks. Neither he nor Grace could have entered the house anymore. A couple of days later, I got a call from Lucas. Oh, hey, why won't the door open? Are you at home? I'm at my parents' house. What are you doing there? I mean, why isn't my key working? Oh, I changed the locks. What do you mean? We are getting a divorce. Divorce? I've sent all your stuff to your parents' house. No way. Jeez, how did you come up with divorce? You'll have to ask Grace about that. I gotta go. Oh, wait. After I hung up on him, he apparently went to see Grace right away. Sometime later, I received a call from him again. Honey, did you seriously move all my stuff out? I told you so, didn't I? I'm divorcing you. Hold on, I never agreed. Mom took the initiative and pushed things right. Well then, it's invalid. I didn't think I could stay married to you. Your mom is entirely at fault, but you're also in the wrong for siding with her. He finally understood his position. It's my fault. From now on, I won't take her side. I'll make her apologize to you too. Mom, apologize to Nora. He then gave the phone to Grace. What's going on? How is this happening to me? Doesn't the apartment belong to Lucas? How are you staying there? I used to saying things like that at this point. The apartment belongs to my mother. Lucas has no right to anything. He just moved in after we got married. That can't be true. But it is. Oh, and I have recordings and diary entries of all the verbal abuse and mistreatment from you. What? I've sent copies of those as well, just as I finished my sentence. Does she mean this? I had my father-in-law's voice in the back. Apparently, he was around. He played the recorded audio I made. From the stereo, I could hear Grace's voice yelling. The volume was loud enough for me to hear it even over the phone. Wait, when did you make this? Jesus, what's this all about? Have you been skipping out on housework and bullying Nora at her house the whole time? I heard my father-in-law yelling at Grace. Oh, well, you see. Nora, please explain to him. I was just teaching you housework. I addressed the flustered Grace in an icy tone. You've been coming to my place to bully me. I knew it. I can't put up with you anymore. Let's get a divorce. With that, I heard him walk away. Nora, because of you, I might lose everything. What are you going to do about it? Well, I guess you deserved it. I'm the victim here. I could even consider suing for emotional distress I've endured. Oh no, I didn't mean to. Anyway, divorce is inevitable, so please convey this to Lucas, who's probably frozen in place there. If he doesn't comply, I'll take legal action. I hung up the phone. After that, Lucas called me several times, but I ignored him and demanded a divorce through my lawyer. He resisted for a while, but eventually gave in and agreed to it. Later, my father-in-law filed for divorce from Grace, and she was kicked out from the house. Lucas is now living in a rented apartment, where Grace forced herself to move in with him. He is constantly angry and blames her. "It's all your fault." And Grace fights back. "It's your fault for not explaining things properly." They fight every day. I've received an email from him saying he wants to reconcile and promises to treat me better this time, after reporting his current situation with his mother. I've been ignoring all of them. If he continues to pester me in the future, I'm thinking of consulting the police. Well, he's a coward, so if I mention the word police, he'll freak out and run away. Now, I'm living alone in a spacious apartment. I'll most likely obtain half of the money Lucas earned during our marriage through the property division, so I plan to take my time and look for a job at my own pace.